Warm welcome to everyone. We are really quite happy and excited to introduce our speaker. So we have a speaker who is an alumni of Ex-CHRO and Harvard Business School, and also he is a veteran serving in multinational companies for more than 35 years in companies like HCL, Mindtree, Deutsche Software as a CHRO. Also as a founding member of a software company called Listed Technology. Apart from this, he's also an SME in Boston Consulting Group. And also he's a board member for multiple organizations which works on different areas like blockchain, AI, and fintech areas. So apart from this, he's also he's a consultant, he's a visiting faculty, and the list goes on. And today our speaker is here to talk about the new age technology or the trending technology in the learning space. So without keeping you all wait, I'm happy and a warm welcome to Mr. Ravi Shankar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Naveen. Thanks for the nice introduction. Hi, friends. Next 30 minutes, I will take you through the technologies that will dominate learning as a space and why that is also required. I'll give you some background and some of the wrong ideas about learning we carry forward. And I will keep sharing those ideas. Whenever you have questions about technology or some of the concept I've discussed, reserve for the end. When I will do a Q&A, I'll take you through patiently those areas. Okay, one of the major areas of learning as a concept is least understood by a lot of people. In the sense, if you go into the neuroscience, learning itself is a very, very complex concept for the brain. How does the brain learn? How does the brain understand? How does the brain remember? Something you remember, something you don't remember. If I ask you all the studies you did in school, you don't remember. But one or two things you studied in the school, you still remember. So the learning is a very, very complex mechanism. As neuroscience evolved, we have learned a lot about learning itself. So how the brain learns. But very funnily, a lot of HR people as well as L&D people have not brought in those scientific discoveries of learning and the brain into the field. So I'll be also covering the technologies that is going to help in making the brain learn better than what it is. And one of the primary technology of the world, way the world is going to be on the shorter duration of learning, what we call nano learnings. Why? Because brain has the lowest ability to focus on something for a longer duration. And actually the attention span of average human today is less than 60 seconds. That means you will not be able to focus on something beyond 60 seconds at a time. And especially the worlds of WhatsApp and X and Y makes it keep picking up the phone. So actually we keep telling people digital world makes you go into what we call neurologically a disease called attention deficit syndrome. And actually a golden fish supposed to have 78 seconds of attention span, and humans are going below the golden fish. Anyway, that's to give you a background. So what I'm going to talk about is two concepts of learning and technology changing. The way we learn and the way the brain learns. So how does it mix and how do we employ the technology to get that going? So the first slide talks about evolution of workplace learning. I started my career in 1980s. All learnings used to be classroom. Training program means 9 to 5 with, two chai with biscuits and samosas and one lunch provided by the company. It's at cost, and it will go on non-stop for 8 to 9 hours, mostly monologue and some questions and answers and X and Y. Somewhere in the 2000, the world moved into concept of e-learning. That means learning through online, either facilitated by the facilitator or without a facilitator using various AV devices. Then corporates started adopting somewhere in 2010 blended learning. That means some training is provided on classroom and some training is provided on online. So you do like a homework and classwork type of a thing. So you learn a subject using both the models. Most of the MOOC, massive online open source training, is based on blended learning like Coursera. So you have live lectures or recorded lectures, and then you have assignments to complete, and you can even get an MBA degree or even a PhD nowadays is available online through blended learning. The new two areas of emerging is what we call social learning and crowdsource. And that is going to be the dominant feature of learning for the world tomorrow onwards. Today, we jovially say people know more about economics, people know more about politics, people know more about any subject because of what we call WhatsApp University. And a lot of people laugh at it when I make that statement. And that's what we call social learning. That means the society makes you learn something that you are not thought that you will ever learn about it. So I'm very surprised at my home when people discuss subject they never discussed 10 years back. And I suddenly wonder where this knowledge comes from, that it's a social learning triggered by WhatsApp and Instagrams and Facebook, all those subjects. Okay, where is this going? So if you look at in terms of a neurology, the mindset of both the employer and employee is changing. So from training basically means I want to teach you how to drive a car. So that mode of teaching a skill is called training. So I sit next to you and then hit you, shout at you and say, no, press the brake, press the clutch and X and Y. That's the typical training model. And from there, we are moving towards learning, understand the subject, why the car drives, why you need a clutch, why you need a brake, why you need what is an automotive engine. And that's more of going into the fundamentals and concept of it. And it used to be employer focused. That means employer used to decide what he needs and train you. Now it's more employee focused because he wants to develop his career and going. It used to be, 3 days in a year, 5 days in a year, time box. Now it's an ongoing. You are assigned a course by an Harvard classroom or something. You learn over a period of 6 months, 9 months, at your own pace, at your own speed. And a lot of learning is now moving towards from formal classroom to an informal learning. That means you learn through multiple modes. This last stage is where a lot of technology will come into play, which I will be explaining as you go along. I also in the first slide shared about concept known as social learning. What is social learning? Most of you must have been using a music app like Amazon Music or Spotify or anything else. And 95% of what you listen as a music will be curated by somebody like top 10 or, hit list by so-and-so, list listened by some expert who is good in music. And you start listening to those music because you don't have the time or a patience to go around finding out which music is good, which song is good and learn. So you go and hit top 10, top 50 and select the genre and do it. And most of these lists are what we call curated one. The future of your learning will happen through curation by your peers and your social system. That means a lot of time you will learn about a subject because somebody recommends to you and curates and gives it to you. Somebody sends you a link up saying, yeah, this course on blockchain is very good. And this video I listened on blockchain to understand what is blockchain. You listen to that 5 minutes video and say, wow, now I understand what is Bitcoin and what is blockchain. And that is what we call curate and share. And that's what we call the future of the learning. That means 90% of your learning will not come from your employer, but will come from friends, peers, social circle. And that's how you learn even technology and skill. So the first 3 slides talks about the paradigm. Now we are going to go into technologies that will dominate and improve your learning capacity. And also if you are a L&D professional, to understand the effectiveness of the learning. The first and foremost, I am going to go on to a very exotic technology is called emotional analytics of learning. That means when you become a trainer, like when I started getting into teaching in MBA colleges, they used to say, look at the participants' eyes and you know whether they are learning or not learning. Look at their attention, look at their X and Y. That analysis is called emotional analytics of the face. And that is used in the classroom physically by me when I keep looking at every student to find out whether somebody is irritated, somebody is bored, somebody's attention is somewhere else, and I go for it. And this is very, very important technology that is going to dominate. Can I understand when a person is engaged in learning, either online, offline, classroom, X and Y, whether he is engaged and emotionally involved? Because learning is mostly effective, the participant is emotionally and fully engaged. Emotional engagement means that is mind and heart, as you say, heart is a metaphor, is excited about the subject and he finds it fun and easy to learn, and that means his emotion is at play and he has a lot of positive emotion about learning the subject, and hence is an high attention and high learning, and negative emotion and low attention. So One of the major technology that is getting developed is called emotional analytics in the learning field. How does it operate? So look at this slide. This is one of the most important technology that is going to dominate. This is based on understanding the face of a person and what that emotion that person expresses when he is interacting with the camera, and whether the camera can have an artificial intelligence engine behind it to do it. This was started by a neurologist as an experiment to find out how good the students are in a class in a primary school in America, because they found out some students are able to learn from same teacher well, and some students are not able to learn from the teacher. So they deployed around 6 cameras in the classroom and put in a lot of these algorithms, like what you see, emotion recognition. How does it recognize? Whether you're showing a joy or anger, fear, sadness, surprise, whether your attention, I look at your head tilting, tilt direction, other facial landmarks, whether your eyes is going upwards into the eye socket, that means you're not able to understand what is happening. And then, find out whether the response is negative or positive. So now it is also used in recruitment technologies, when you do video interviews, whether you can find out the person is actually interested in the interview or not, doing an X and Y. And this technology is getting integrated to learning. In that classroom, the professor who was doing this experiment found out they can predict within the first month of the class starting how many students are going to master this subject and how many students are not going to master subject, like in history or geography or science. And they waited for the exam results to come out, and their science proved to be correct. And that's how this technology came into picture. By studying the face of the student or the learner, I can understand whether he's learning a subject or not learning the subject. Can this be taken to the trainer to give a feedback? So actually, I'm in the board of a company which is into this technology called emotional analytics. So we are working with the schools because of the COVID. Majority of the schools, why majority? 99% of the schools are doing online. And one of the complaints that you receive from parents is, the kids, switch on the class and then do some other activities and don't even bother. In classroom, you'll be afraid your teacher will know you're doing some other activities. But in an online class with so many cameras and so many images on the screen, you will not be able to make out whether the student is doing something or something. So this is providing a technology to alert a student a section of the class is not paying attention, they are getting bored, or they are not enjoying the subject, or the way you teach is not easy for them to comprehend an X and Y. So it keeps continuous feedback to the trainers by giving him prompt to say that, too many students are losing interest, too less students are using interest. And for the training L&D department, it gives a lot of statistics to know. For example, when I teach in ISB, every time I finish the class and come out, a survey is done by all the 50, 70 students, how good my class was. So they have a 7 or 8 points, and they have to give on a 5-point scale. And I have to consistently score more than 4 to continue teaching there. Otherwise, they will drop me from the panel of professors, because that means if you are not engaging the students, you are not worth teaching. They will not bother about the student's problem. The problem of not learning is shifted to the professor and not to the student, because you are supposed to make it interesting and X and Y. So this is the way the artificial intelligence is going to come as one of the major technology, using a lot of videos and audios and sounds and X and Y will come in. And highest point, which I showed you in the first set of a slide, is what we call a facial recognition system, which tries to understand are you learning or not learning and X and Y. In addition, a lot of other areas AI will power the training. For example, today when you switch on the Netflix, it knows what is that you would like to watch and starts recommending. So according to Netflix, 95% of your viewing after 6 months of subscription will go as per Netflix recommendation of what you like and what you don't like. And you will more or less stick to that recommendation and do that, because it's understood your preferences, your taste, your interest, and everything else, and curate a movie and give it to you. So one of the biggest areas the artificial intelligence will come into play is trying to understand you as an individual and give you the learning the way it can be done. So you are more interested in more visual learning through video, or you're more interested in reading through audio, or what way it can be delivered, and it will start customizing the learning for you, even though it is done for it. Okay, this is one of the biggest work I did with a set of people in GE, because GE has a concept known as a think tank, and trying to find out what is that people should learn. A lot of time you go by, performance appraisal where your boss says you should learn this and you should learn that, and you don't know whether that's the right learning for you. Like your student decided by the college what should you learn, what you should not learn, and you realize 90% of things you learned were not useful to you in the life. So this is an experiment we conducted with over 10,000 employees by using what we call text analytics. By looking at your emails and correspondence with peers and customers, and also as well as the software you develop and the feedback software bug analytics gives, can I recommend what should you learn because I find you are lacking in it? Like for example, just to give you the way you compose the mail, I put the text analytics into picture and it understands that you're not very good with grammar or you're not very good with spelling. So then I recommend a training for you to improve on it. So this is one of the biggest area of artificial intelligence. I will try to find out what is relevant to your role, what is relevant to your job by analyzing a lot of text that comes through your system, through your laptop, your emails and your customer reports and customer feedback, and also your, if you're in a software world, the type of software you do, the type of bugs it reports. It then starts telling what sort of a training you should go, what is your priority, and normally you'll go right if you get that thing in terms of a career. So you need not wait for anyone to give a feedback. The system will collate the feedback and curate a training for you. Okay, the next biggest technology that is going to dominate the world of training is called virtual reality, and then you will hear about augmented reality. So I'll come to both of them stage by stage. Minor differences, but the differences matter depending on what area you want to train on. What is a VR training? VR training is that I am trying to create a 3D environment visually and then make you do things that you would have normally done in a live environment where you are not exposed to the risk of doing a mistake. Let's take a field of medicine. So in a good olden days, how do you become an MBBS doctor? First, you will cut open a worm to find out what is the internal organs of a worm. Then you'll cut open a cockroach to find out what are the internal organs of the worm. And looking at those organs, you will be able to identify. Then you'll go to frog and then you will cut. Then you'll go to a mammal like a pig or something and then cut and understand how a mammal is structured. And one day they will let you cut a cadaver of a dead person to figure it out how it has to be done. Now imagine I have to teach you all these things with a real life thing, and getting a cadaver is not easy for medical research. So imagine I create a virtual body and then create an artificial stimulation where you can do all those things like opening up a body and then going deep in and finding out where is the heart, where is the lungs, and what is behind the lungs and what is before the lungs and what is that thing, and then train you as a doctor. Then when you really cut open a person, what you have seen would make a lot of sense to you rather than looking at it for the first time or something. So here I'm showing two of the major devices that dominates the world of virtual training. These are the two devices. When you have time, go to Google and type Oculus and see the case studies of Oculus or Vive. These are the things that will create. You see these devices. For example, today 95% of the training that a pilot receives happens on a virtual trainer. That means the pilot is not actually driving a new generation of a Dreamliner in the real pilot. The last 5% of the training will happen on the real plane. Remaining 95% of the training will happen on a virtual trainer. And you know how critical and important for a pilot to be well trained on both takeoff and landing. And imagine this, you do it on moon launchers and Mars rovers and X and Y. That's the potential of virtual trainers. So majority of training where you involve skill imparting for people to do work either in manufacturing or medical field or in hospitals or with the humans will move to what we call a virtual trainer. So I'm just showing you some of the industries where it is working heavily. Today, because of the COVID, people cannot go to to see a model house of a flat you want to book. So in real estate, again, virtual training is coming. In retail, again, most of you must have seen the new concept of Mercedes-Benz will stop selling through the showroom and start selling through the online. So you get a 3D view of the Mercedes-Benz. You can open the door, look into it, I mean, one, you can do it in 2D in the computer, but if you have a virtual reality device, it's not a very expensive device. It costs some 7,000 rupees, and all is mobile to lag on the front of that the device. Then it will create that entire thing, so you can actually physically open the door and get into the car and check seating and everything else as it goes along. What is an augmented reality? So augmented reality is I mix the virtual reality and the real life scenery. So if I want to teach a guy how a robo operates, a new trainee has come into my manufacturing, and I want to teach him what are the components of a robo and how to operate and what are the things it does. So I create what I call augmented reality. That means I take the robot and its components and then feed it into the system, and I create an artificial simulation. So by looking at the device and touching the device, he'll automatically learn about how the device is structured, what are the components of the device plays for role in that, and X and Y. And augmented reality will also be used in surgeries of the future. A doctor may be remotely sitting there. He will have what we call a robotic thing that's attached to internet connection, and he'll perform most complex surgery remotely on your body using what we call an augmented reality. And he will see your body and action through an augmented reality. Your real body exists, and his camera will guide him saying, here is this tumor, here is the cancer, this has to be nipped, and this has to be stitched, and X and Y will take you through that type of a thing. So augmented reality is again a major area in the same field, but here we are not doing everything virtual. Degree of reality and virtual will mix, but as it goes along, it will become the major layer of learning, training, as well as operations. So you will do operations using artificial intelligence. Healthcare is emerging as one of the biggest area. So you will be able to do most of the complex surgeries. You need not run to a major city to get a best of the surgeon to perform surgery on you. Sitting in any hospital which is equipped with an AR room and all the equipment that is required, including robotic hands and robotic scissors and X and Y, you'll be able to perform this technology. And similarly, you can provide training to others who want to watch and learn. I don't know whether you know, 90% of the surgical training happens by a master surgeon performing the surgery, and around 100 new doctors or MBBS doctor who are doing MD watching him how to perform. So watching him how to perform will happen through, again, artificial intelligence. Sitting at home, you will learn how to perform a neurosurgery or a heart surgery or X or Y. So this shows that example of what happens, and you will even have a virtual avatar to train you, which I'll talk about later on. How do you use that person who will guide you stage by stage how to do a surgery virtually, and then later on at a physical thing. Okay, now I'm switching to a subject called digital content. One of the biggest problems for trainer is to create a training material on a subject and give it to the participants for learning and also for study. One of the another area where artificial intelligence and NLP, natural language processing, is coming into play is, can I use algorithms and machine learning systems to curate a content on a particular subject rather than I wasting my time creating a content. So if I want to do a training on, say, Bitcoin part of the blockchain, what I will do is I will, use this specialized software and type and say, I want to explain Bitcoin part of the blockchain to people in a essay consisting of 400 words or 500 words. Then this software will scour the internet, looking at wikis and all other places, and will start curating the content and create a digital content and give it to you in a PDF or whatever format you want. Then you can edit it and modify it and then share it with the participants, saying, before my next session on Bitchain and blockchain, please read this material and come back. So this is going to be another place where the training content creation will become driven by, again, AI and ML and NLP languages. So this is creating a digital content and engaging copies that you can create. And this shows next evolution, a concept known as a smart book. Today, when you get a digital content, it is non-interactive. That means you can't do anything about it. So in a real classroom, you will do an exam, or even the training programs, the trainer after the training will say, have you understood the subject? Please fill up this survey, and then I want to see whether you understood the subject. You will conduct a pop quiz or some some Q&A to find out. The next evolution of technologies in L&D called smart books. The smart books replaces all those things. That means I will give you a content which also will have a smart level. So you will learn a part of it through the content, and there will be links and highlighted zone which you don't understand. You can click and pop it up, and a person will come and explain what does that means. And so you learn, even including complex English words and X and Y. And once you finish, it will automatically start throwing some questions related to that subject you have learned and assess, and it'll evaluate you. And if he finds that you have not learned back, it'll take you back to that book and that page, not even book, that page, and say, this part of the subject you have not learned back, can you relearn and come back and attempt the test? And this concept is called smart book. It's already released by some of the biggest publishers. So you can select a subject and make it into a smart book. So it's a book which makes the classroom exams and X and Y as an integral part of the learning technology. So remember this word smart book. Go to the internet and search, and you will see a lot of examples of smart book in schools, smart book in colleges, and smart book in corporate training worlds. Okay, what is AI-based digital tutor? Okay, so why everything is going digital? Why the trainer has to be a human? So this is again an artificially created tutor who will come and start explaining a particular subject to you, interacting with you like a human. And in this place, one of the things that is going to get heavily involved is a concept known as robotic teachers. And if you have time, you go and type AI-based Sophia. Sophia is an artificial intelligence-based human being which exists in real scenario. And she has given interviews to some of the most complex interviewers across the news channels like CNN, CNBC, and X and Y. And you can throw any question at her. She will answer it very smartly. She will see your movement, understand what you're trying to do. And if you come near her, they'll say, keep a distance from me. And then if you try to be sarcastic with her, she'll become sarcastic. So that's the type of technology where human with an artificial intelligence inside, or robot with an artificial intelligence inside, will teaching you a subject. So these are the digital avatars of artificial intelligence tutor. You don't need a manual one. And then the robots are also coming into the picture. Robots are very few right now, but the digital avatars, as we call as a subject to teach you, will become more and more. And especially it's very, very useful for at the lower level of education, especially below the teens level. This has proved to be one of the best way to train them on any subject, because they engage them very well. Go back 10 times, repeat 10 times till you understand. And they don't get irritated like human, and they can keep doing this 100 times even if you want it. The next biggest technology that is going to dominate this field is called big data and e-learning. Big data will play a lot of things about you. So like we keep talking about privacy in the social media where it learns everything. They say Google knows more thing about you than your spouse or your parents or X or Y, which is partially true because they employ what we call big data to learn a lot about you as a customer, what you do, where you go, what you eat, when you sleep, everything about you they learn, and they create a profile out of you. The same will come into the picture of learning, be it text analytics, be it artificial intelligence-based learning, be it tutor. All of them will understand about you as a human being and start delivering content to you according to you. And it will not be generic content, but it will be very, very specific. So it will be a customized learning programs for me as Ravi Shankar in any field I want. If it is my reading a novel, it will tell me the right novel to read. If I want to cook something, it will tell me what cooking I will enjoy and teach me on that. So learning will predate into a lot of spaces outside the corporate. And over a period of time, it will have a huge profile creation of you as a learner, and it will know all about you in the learning, which is a big help to the L&D department, because one of the things you don't know about employees when you are getting trained, who's getting trained and who's ready for the job. The big data and e-learning will give you all this data. This person has mastered the subject using the smart book. This person has mastered the subject using a digital tutor, and take you through all those processes and give you. So when you are updating the skill database, you need not wait for an employee to type out like a biodata to say I'm master in so and so COBOL programming. The system will automatically extract and provide it in the learning. So big data in e-learning will become very, very big, and it will be across the platforms over a period of time. So there I will stop my talk on all the concept of technologies that are permeating in e-learning and the future. So feel free to ask any questions. I'll be happy to take them.
Right, sir. This is Naveen from SkillUpRight. There are already a couple of questions. So Jogesh Gupta, he is asking if you can help with an example or difference in VR and AR.
Okay, VR is, for example, in a VR, there is no physical environment. So when you sit in front of a computer and play a race car, I'm creating the environment of a racetrack and I'm creating a cockpit of a race car and I play the game, and that's called virtual reality. There is nothing called a physical reality involved in it. Everything is virtual. The car is virtual, the steering is virtual, the road is virtual, the scenery in the road is virtual. So that is entirely virtual. But imagine that if I take you to an actual car, put you inside, and then, but the car doesn't move, but you get the entire experience of driving a car through multiple terrains and, navigating, and you try to take a turn on a particular road, the car tumbles and you get the tumbling experience. I mean, if you ever go to abroad, look for 4D theaters and 5D theaters. So what happens in the movie will physically happen to you. That is called augmented reality. That means I'm augmenting you into the reality. So you will go through the experiences. Your body will go through that experiences. Your brain will go through the experiences. So virtual reality is like a dream, and artificial reality is like a physically stimulated activity that your brain does. So if I give you I don't know whether you have seen Boeing pilot training. So they will create a cockpit. You go and sit in the cockpit, and then when you turn the plane, the entire cockpit will tilt. That physically it will tilt because it is stimulated on the hydraulics. So that's an AR. And virtual is when you sit and play a plane flying game in a computer 2D. That becomes a virtual reality. And if you put a 3D glass, it becomes more realistic, but still virtual reality because nothing is real.
Okay. So Hina, I think you can ask your question once again, because I think you might have asked this question where Mr. Ravi Shankar was explaining. So your question is, how do we analyze this in a virtual classroom? So I think maybe if you can rephrase your question, that will help us. But otherwise, we have a few more questions coming in. So Uday Menon, I know these are future technologies. Some has started, but according to you, when will this be scales and see many organizations using it?
Already started. So, for example, today when a lot of companies onboard retail salesperson, for example, if Airtel tries to onboard a person to sell SIM cards and broadband and X and Y, the entire training has gone on virtual reality. That means in your computer or in mobile, they'll give you a customer and he'll come and ask you physically, hey, Ravi Shankar, I want to buy connection for my mobile phone. And then what interaction you do, he'll keep replying to you. So that way you learn how to interact with the customer who's searching for a mobile connection. So a lot of retail training and all those areas have already gone to area of it. Similarly, onboarding in a lot of companies, which used to be a one-day exercise, has gone into the area of virtual reality. So I create an environment, take you through that thing. A trainer will come and explain the company policies and processes, and he will show you a workstation all through that thing. So a lot of companies have started the process. It's a mindset of HR people. See, the problem I always encountered throughout my career is somewhere HR people think technology is not for them. You need to be an engineer to understand and use the technology. No, you don't need to be an engineer to understand, use the technology. Like using a car, you don't need to be an automobile engineer. So all you have to do is to start searching for how do I deliver a particular learning using more sophisticated methods. You go and search in the Google, you'll find the methods and you can talk to the vendor and enable of it. Even if you want a virtual reality, your cell phone is capable of creating virtual reality simulations for your company. So you don't need to invest in any device for the employee. So all you need is a vendor who can create your training program on a virtual reality, and you can tell the employee download on your mobile, and then go through it and you learn what we do and what we want you to train. So it is not complex. It's complex because a lot of HR people don't want to go into that area.
Okay, so there is a question on Smart Book. So Momata and Ratina Kumar wants to know more about Smart Book, and Momata Begum says, what would be your recommendation? She wants you to throw some more light on a Smart Book, and what would be your recommendation?
A smart book is a concept when you are giving a training material for a person to go through to learn the subject. That is a mixed blended learning. That means he learns something online and he give an assignment for him. That entire learning and assignment is converted into a smart book for him to track and learn. So the system automatically keeps track of what areas of the chapters you have covered, where are the pop quizzes starts to apply, and have you answered them. If you have not answered them, which area that you have to go and strengthen back your learning. So there are a lot of vendors who will convert any book into a smart book. So, but the design of what you want to convert into smart book depends on you. So where you want to, do like a school type of a thing. Remember that you used to have a monthly test, weekly test. After the subject is over, a test and X and Y. So if you want to introduce that type of a model, so if I'm teaching you transaction analysis, say for example in psychology, I want you to answer some question on TA. So that I will incorporate it in the smart book. After teaching, I'll ask you to answer some question, and one part of the TA you answered it wrongly. It'll automatically take the book back and say relearn it and retake the test till you finish the test. I'll not take it to the next stage of a book. So smart books are available even if you go to major publishers like Penguin and all. You have smart books for school kids. So if you never have a kid who's going to the school, you can buy a physical book which is not a smart book, or you can buy a smart book of history or a geography where the person learning will be much better, especially in a remote learning today. So smart book are already popular in the school level. It is yet to come into the corporate, but I already see in some of the QSR restaurant, one of my customer uses smart book to teach a person how to answer questions regarding a pizza, delivery and X and Y using a smart book. So the person, it is all native language. It's not only in English. So then he learns through that.
Okay, so Hina's question was, how do we analyze emotional intelligence in a virtual training? I'll repeat, it's how do we analyze emotional intelligence in a virtual training?
As long as the camera is able to look at you, I can capture all your emotions using various signs in your face about what you are doing and what you are learning, what you are not learning. So most of the devices are two-way interactive. So even in a VR, the camera is already built into the device of the VR, so it can monitor your eye movements and figure it out. Is that interesting to you, not interesting to you? So any place you can embed it. So even when you are doing corporate training, you can tell the people keep the camera on. You need not come on the video, but keep the camera on, and you can map all the 20-25 participants who are attending a 2 hours training on a particular skill or a particular subject, and its software will automatically throw the results of who are the people who are engaged for 2 hours, how long they were engaged, how many times they were distracted, how many times they could not comprehend, how many times they were getting agitated. It can give you all the emotional analytics. As long as your camera can read your face, in any environment, it can capture. If it's an actual classroom environment, embed some cameras, and the software behind it will give you after the class is over what has happened.
Okay, so Mr. Hariharan asks, can you help us understand more about virtual trainer?
Virtual trainers are basically sort of an what I would call it, like a Walt Disney animated movie. So you create an avatar to teach a particular subject and make it interesting and engaging for the participant to learn about the subject. So it's a design methodology where you use a set of an animators and the subject. Both are created simultaneously and made to interact with each other. So a participant get a virtual trainer available to train a subject. And you can go and click on the screen to a particular area you explain and say, I have not understood that. The virtual trainer will again take you through that. So it's a design paradigm. The technology and people are available to create that type of a training material for you, as long as you know what you want to do. So you take a traditional PPT and then you can convert it to virtual trainer. Like right now I'm talking to you. If I give it to a company which is into this field of virtual training, they'll convert my entire PPT into virtual training where Ravi Shankar in an animated form will be talking to you, and then using NLP, natural language processing, it look at the chat and answer the questions also based on the machine language it has learned about the subject. It has learned how Ravi Shankar will answer this question in the past, or will get a prompts to answer a particular question and answer. So it's a design methodology. That's all.
All right. So Ratina Kumar asks, VR or AR will be more useful in terms of product or a technical training. So he's curious to know how it can help them in effectiveness in the soft skill, behavioral, and also on the leadership training.
Okay, so one of the things I've used VR very especially is in training customer people in handling customer complaints. So I've used virtual customer and the real customer service representative in a virtual environment to interact with the customer and then evaluate the response in terms of a satisfaction or a dissatisfaction level. So it has been used in that type of an environment. Similarly, you can train a person on a particular subject using a similar concept. It is possible, but you have to decide how do you want to do it. I don't know whether I answered properly. I hope if not, you can always come to my LinkedIn and pop a question, then I will explain to you more.
Okay, so we can take some more questions, sir.
Yes, boss. Another 10 minutes, no problem.
All right, great. So, Mr. Vikram Rao, the idea of AI in L&D is very interesting. Sometimes without budgetary constraints, we may not be able to quickly implement these. So, your thoughts on how we could work around this?
No, there are platforms available. You need not develop anything. Today, it's all pay per use. So you can go to a AA-based platform and create your training material there and use it rather than investing yourself in trying to technology of artificial intelligence. So use the platform rather than buying a tool or a software. So that's what a lot of us do.
Okay, there's a question from Jyoti Ness. She says, great insights, Ravi. Thank you. Can you share some more examples on big data, especially on how to implement from L&D perspective?
Okay. Big data is actually technology that has to be built into your backend system of the LMS. I hope most of you have a learning management system where most of the data of learning are collated. So assumption is that you have a big data available through an LMS. So then all you have to buy is a big data engine and some technology people who knows how to customize the engine. They will incorporate with LMS and it will start developing patterns and learnings and start giving you a lot of dashboard of learnings as various classroom happens across the company in various areas, be it a 1 hour training, half an hour training, remote training, online training, classroom training. It will collate all the data and give you. And these tools have multiple options to create your own dashboard to understand what is that you are trying to do. But that is one sort of a big data. The second set of a big data is related to what I talked about, text analytics. So again, I tell employees that I'm going to analyze your emails and all your correspondence and communication between you and within the organization, external to the customer, to understand your training requirement. And some of these tools has built-in algorithms to extract what is happening and highlight areas that where it feels that you need further training. So for example, it can analyze your email and then say your grammatical construct of the mail is wrong. So, where you're putting the first person, it has to be second person. Where you're putting the past tense, it has to be present tense. All those Gren and Martin rules, it will teach you. I don't know how many of you use an engine called Grammarly in Gmail. I don't know if you don't. When you are composing a mail, go to Google and type Grammarly. It's a free tool available. The paid tool is also there, but you can use the free tool. It'll automatically start prompting you on your construct of a mail, saying that, it's too complex to understand. The language is not simple. The spelling mistakes, the grammar is wrong. And it'll also tell you split the sentence into two and all. But that operates on AI in the thing. So a lot of this type of tools are available as a pay-per-use model. So you need not build into it. All you have to allow the tool to interact with your internal system to extract the intelligence out of it. Go.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions coming in, sir. If we have time, we can still go ahead with the questions.
Yes.
Okay, so Kavita Thorangalu, she says, given the span of attention getting reduced, how effective is digital learning versus reading a book physically?
No, the attention spanning does not vary by the methodology, but actually attention spanning using multimodal learning, like what we call the entire senses are involved. As long as you can involve 3 senses, your learning is highest in the brain. If you put only one sense, that is either reading eyes or listening, that is the ear, the learning effectiveness is as low as 8%. That means if I give you a 1-hour lecture, you will hardly remember 8% of it after 24 hours. And after 1 week, you will hardly remember 4% of it. And after 1 month, if I tell you to remember from my presentation how many points you can note it down, you may be able to point out 3 or 4 things from the entire 1 hour I talked. So as long as you make the learning multimodal, the learning becomes more and more engaging. So for the trainer is to ensure how he can mix and create a variety in the learning algorithm. So it involves at least 3 senses rather than one singular sense. And that's the neurology. So then you can increase the attention span. The more you use one sense, reading, after some time you will keep seeing your eyes shifting to your phone or looking up an X and Y. I mean, unless you train yourself to superly focus, there are people who can do it. I'm not talking about the exceptions. Or listening, you will when you're suddenly listening, your thought will go to somewhere else and come back, and you would have missed something. You would have happened while you're even watching a movie. Suddenly one scene bypassed you, you don't even notice. Your eyes noticed it, but your brain didn't register it. Yeah, attention span is a big problem, that it requires you to be more immersive. But whereas when you use technologies like VA and AR, it involves all the senses. So the attention deficit is very low. That means you will have a high level of an attention because your brain is also confused. Is it actually happening, or it's a virtually stimulated reality? So yeah, you can see the people who are playing virtual reality games, and they will actually go back. Their heartbeat will go up, and their blood pressure will go up, and they will curse and fight and shout with the machine as if it's a real person they are fighting with. Yes. So the more VR and AR you are involved, the more you become engaged with that.
Okay. So whenever you want to stop, let me know. I'll keep there a couple of questions.
Okay. Some of the questions I can see, I'm going to quickly answer.
Right, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of questions you're asking, where do I find the tool? It's very simple. Go to Google and type, say, for AI for developing content, or digital content creation tools. You will find a lot of companies are there. Ask them for a demo. They'll be very happy to give you a demo. If you're happy on a particular subject, they can digitally create the content. Engage with them. Tell them to do a prototype. Do a sample. So Google is your biggest learning. All there is a technology available. So I'm only pointing you where to go and search. So any subject you want to do big data in learning, there are enough case studies, enough companies which will give you more knowledge than what I can give you. So a lot of time I ask for a demo from a website because I want to learn the subject, not because I'm going to use that software or something like that. So for all the questions you have asked about which tool, what tool, just go and type in Google and say tool for development, tool to develop a digital tutor, tool to develop a AI-based algorithm for learning interest. All those available. Google will give you 10 companies. Select a Indian company. If you're in India, they will take you through a demo. International company, they will give you demos sometime through the videos, and sometime they'll send you a link to go through the demo. So you will learn. Any help you need, you can always ping me on LinkedIn. I will guide you. So any other important question I missed apart from that?
I don't think so, sir. Most questions have been answered. Okay. Arun wants to check, in the first slide you mentioned about crowdsourced learning and crowdsourced learning. Can you help understand the difference?
Difference between what?
was mentioned both crowdsourced learning and crowdsourced learning. I think you wanted to mention something else, I guess. Arun, if you are still there, can you rephrase the question again?
He meant curated learning? I don't
Could,
know.
could be, yeah. Could be, sir. Could be, sir.
Okay, I'll wait for him to connect me on the LinkedIn and I will answer.
Right, sir. I think we have exceeded the time. It's already 3:53.
Yeah,
But
thanks, guys. Thanks
yeah,
for patiently listening to me. Have a good day and stay connected. We'll be happy to help you out in this.
sure, sir. And
Thank you.
sir, I would thank you on behalf of all the participants and showing an insight on the new age technology. I particularly liked, especially on facial recognition, VR, AR, and the digital content. I also believe that all the participants have a far understanding on the new technology. Thank you for the wonderful session. Hopefully, we'll connect back and have more such sessions in the upcoming months. Thank you once again, Mr. Ravi Shankar.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye, all of you.